Hello.
Can I speak to Eric, please?
Yes, it's him.
Eric, my name's Dan Ward. I'm calling from Indiana Disability Rights.
Yes.
What can I do for you, sir?
Well, I requested accommodations for legal counsel by your entity, and I do know that my accommodations can't be refused or sorted once I've made that request. Equal opportunity.
You're kind of cutting out, Eric. I couldn't quite hear you.
Well, I do know that I'm granted full opportunity to receive the goods and services your entity offered, and I did submit a complaint regarding my concerns when trying to deal with a court in this state who is not honoring my ADA rights or accommodations and using my disabilities against me to further deny me justice and my rights to substantive due process. I was told about 2 weeks ago that I'd be getting called today regarding that request of service with your entity.
Well, your request for advocacy was reviewed by our review committee.
And I asked for accommodations for the service, which I do know under federal and U.S. laws you can't deny me service, especially when I'm being attacked.
Mr. Mapes.
Well, sir, I do know that I've already filed a complaint against you for your past discrimination against me, and I do have those calls recorded from our prior experience.
Okay.
I'm very familiar with who you are, and if I'm denied my equal access to participate or enjoy the services, that would be breaking federal and U.S. laws. So,
okay.
am I being denied representation that I asked as an accommodation?
Will you let me finish?
I've asked a question. Am I being denied that access?
And if you'll let me speak, I'll answer your question, Mr. Bates.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because my request of accommodations and access to your services cannot be denied without violating the ADA laws, sir.
Mr. Mapes.
And this applies to, well, sir, this applies to
Mapes.
private and non-profit groups such as yourself.
Mr. Mapes, your request for services was reviewed by our review committee. It was determined that we wouldn't be able to provide you with services.
You can't deny me services, sir. That violates, sir. I'd like to speak to your boss, please, because you're not going to allow me to be abused in this state or taken advantage of. And I need to know the names of everybody who made that determination, please, because I will be filing a formal complaint with the U.S. Justice Department for felony actions to deny me my rights to equal services to participate and benefit from your services.
Okay.
So is that what you're going to tell me? You're going to allow a disabled person to be abused and took advantage of and not be represented? I just wanted to thank you for that disregard and negating my rights. And I would like to I would like to speak to the coordinator of your whole entity, please, because
Can I explain something?
No, you can't explain nothing, sir. Can you explain how your services think it's unnecessary for me to allow me to be abused and not to represent me when I'm being taken advantage of for my disability, sir? Can you explain how that's not legitimate? Can you explain how under federal laws the requirements of public accommodations? No, sir. I'm speaking, sir. Do not interrupt me. You're causing anxiety problems because of my speech disability. Now, because I do know you cannot refuse me a service once it's requested, that does violate federal law. And y'all have to come up with a very legitimate reason as to why, and y'all have not done so. So that's basically saying y'all have knowledge of the situation and the abuse and torture I'm being put through, and y'all wish to aid and abet it. You might want to look up 18 U.S. Code 2, sir. Aiding and abetting is you have knowledge of something and your entity is in a position to stop that. But by choosing not to, y'all are also allowing the deprivation of my rights, sir. Do you understand that, sir? Because do you understand the rights you're negating? Do you understand that you're depriving me of my rights to equal access? No, unless you're going to say y'all are willing to, unless you're going to say your entity is willing to accommodate a disabled person who is being abused and tortured and needs legal counsel because my disabilities are being used against me, then your explanation is unwarranted here, sir. I'd like to speak to your supervisor. No, sir, because you're causing an exacerbation and putting me in another form of torture, which is assault.
Well, just calm down for 1 second.
I can't calm down, sir. I'm continually being abused by people who are taking advantage of me, and your entity is allowing that abuse. So here, how about my wife tells you what y'all are causing me right now, sir? This is called assault, which you're allowing to happen.
Okay.
Hello. Hi. He is having a panic attack. Don't
I can
let
tell.
me speak.
Yep.
Yes, and you all are causing it.
All right.
This
Ma'am,
is.
what's your name?
My name is Janelle McKenzie Kelly Mates.
Janelle, let me explain one thing, please.
Hmm.
My role in this whole scenario is to gather the information and forward it on to a review committee for them to determine whether we can open a case to provide services. I don't have any decision-making ability in regard to whether we provide services.
Your
Ma'am,
job.
let me finish. I don't have any role in the decision-making process. So what I was trying to explain is that if he would like to file a complaint in regard to the decision that was made on his request for services, there's going to be a letter that's going to be sent to him that will explain why we denied him
You
services.
actually cannot deny him. It states in rules of the court system.
Well,
and
ma'am,
you just said let you speak. Now I'm speaking.
Well, I
so
wasn't finished.
no, you have to be finished because you have actually made a false statement. It is your job as an ADA person, regardless of what you can and cannot do, you have to follow a certain guideline protecting anyone with disabilities. As you've seen and experienced, my husband has an obvious disability where he needs someone to communicate on his behalf. That is what he's asking for. And you're denying him, saying you can't do that. But it is in your job requirements to help him communicate. That is what he's asking for.
I understand. But you have to understand, I'm not the one that's denying him, ma'am. I didn't have any role in making the decision for our agency not to offer him services. I don't have any control over that part of it. So what I'm saying...
But you are the one calling him back, telling him no.
That's because he called and left me a message, ma'am. I'm just relaying the information that was passed on by the review committee. Okay, now what I'm saying is he's going to be getting a letter explaining why he was denied, and there'll be an explanation about it. If he disagrees with it, he can file a complaint.
Either way, your job is to provide him with someone who can communicate his problems, yes or no. I'm asking the question from you. Is it your job to make sure that he can communicate properly with your department, yes or no?
It's my job to make sure.
I asked you an yes or no question that it is your job to make sure he can communicate properly through your department, and that is not what's happening. Is it your job to make sure he can communicate properly his problems?
Well, when he originally contacted me, he asked for assistance.
It's a yes or no question. Is it your job to make sure he can properly communicate when he's having a disability to your department and other facilities in your building?
I don't understand that question.
Your question is, isn't it your job to make sure he can communicate without frustrating his disability and communicate with your department easily and calmly? I've stated the question several times. Isn't it your job as your department, as a disability department, to make sure anyone with disabilities can communicate properly?
No, it's not our job.
Yes, it is. Your disability. You have to help those who are disabled. That is your job. Yes or no?
Ma'am, we provide advocacy services.
Yes, you provide advocacy service.
Right.
That is a yes.
Right.
So it is your job to make sure that those who are disabled can communicate properly to the disability department. You just admitted it was your job to make sure this could happen. He is not allowed to do that. Thank you.
Ma'am,